we are back. Welcome to the podcast, Evan. Thank you for contributing here and in our banter.
Just show up.
Well, you know, some people might just be jumping into this part.
True.
They might just be jumping in. Always thinking of you guys. Always thinking of you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hopefully, thanks for being here.
Hopefully I'm entertaining.
You are entertaining. If nothing else, you laugh at our stupidity. And that's really what the guest is all about. That's it. That way it'll encourage other people to maybe possibly think that we're funny too. So, as we've established, you worked at the shop for a long time. You say 10 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, this past July was 10 years since I had to leave.
Wow.
That's crazy, man.
I say had to leave because I didn't want to.
Well,
yeah. No, I started back in 2009. I was still in high school when I started. When I started at the store, for those that don't know, I was cleaning. I got hired as the cleaning guy.
That's true.
I was hired as a cleaning guy, and I would be cleaning. Rick tells the story all the time. I'd be cleaning the store when people would be shopping, and I would start selling them stuff while I was trying to clean the store. And Rick would yell at me to stop selling stuff and go back to scrubbing the toilets and take the trash out.
Yeah.
So over time, he started paying attention to this, and then I got my opportunity to go with the sales. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to date, just because we have some listeners who are have been around Drums Etc. for a long time, who was working at that time?
So when I started, it was Travis, Shawn, Carl, and Rick. Those four, the big four, the iconic four, the Mount Rushmore of Drums Etc. in my book. And then Travis had left. He went to join a band, and that's when I got my call up to the majors.
Yep.
And jumped on the sales floor, and the rest is history.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
So I did 4 or 5 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
No, I was the best. I say it all the time. Even what I do now, I love what I do. But this 5 years, the best years of my life. I loved that job through and through. Every day, went to work and loved every minute of it.
It's always something completely different too. That's my favorite part about it.
But before that, of course, just like all of us, we were customers first. Before I started working at Drums Etc., I was a customer, a student coming down. That's when I bought my sets and everything else on Queen Street and coming up. You were just a snot-nosed little punk kid that would come in.
with goth pants.
With goth pants on.
Goth pants.
You went through that phase.
As a phase.
But you would come in with your dad, who I loved, and he would get you all kinds of cool stuff, and he would do the Christmas shopping for you. I remember doing all that. He'd come in without you and with you to pick out symbols and things like that. And then it got to the point where you were able to come in on your own, and you didn't really live too far away.
Far enough that I'm surprised my parents let me ride my bike there.
You were responsible enough. But yeah, that was it. You could ride your bike there.
Yeah.
So you started riding your bike there. Now, actually, before I say this, I really had my bike stolen at Drums Etc. on Queen Street. I don't know if any of you guys know this. My bike was stolen from Queen Street, Drums Etc.
I'm sure you told me that. I just didn't bank it.
Okay.
Were you irresponsible? Do you not lock it up?
I can't remember. This is what happened. I come in.
My guess is not.
I probably not.
No.
I had a lock, but I remember that day I came rolling up on my little bike, and my drum teacher was standing outside smoking. So
Who was?
Brock Warner. So I think that I just I put my bike. We had these big poles out front, and I would chain my bike to the pole. I think I just leaned it against it, and we got to talking, and then one thing led to another, and we went in. And when I came out, my bike was gone. So my bike was stolen from Drums Etc. Anyway, fast forward.
The story actually gets funny.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, now it's sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
Everyone's crying.
No, this is drama. And actually, we tracked him down. We have the guy who stole Shawn's bike with the same bike. He's still riding it today. Come on the set. Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine. And then you guys can fight, and then everyone starts shouting. That's what people want to listen to, right? Yeah. Punches.
Yeah, go online right now, and that's all you see.
It'll be like Indiana Jones, like whoosh, like ridiculous sound effects.
Sure.
But go on. Your bike was stolen.
So my bike was stolen. Boo-hoo. I was sad. So, of course, I had to take it out on a little young Evan. So he comes rolling in.
What's the connection there?
Well,
Just wait for it.
Just wait for it.
Okay.
So Evan comes in, and he leaves his bike out front, not locked up, leaned against the railing, and he comes in, he does his business, and I wasn't helping you, but I noticed that your bike was sitting out front. So I thought, this would be kind of funny. I'm going to take his bike. I took his bike, and I rode it around to the back dock. And I opened up the door, and I put his bike on the dock, and then I walked out front, and I sat back, and I waited. So Evan comes up and he purchases whatever he purchases, and he goes outside, and I watch him, and he looks around. His bike is gone, and he comes back in. Or I came out. I think he came back in.
I think I came back in.
Yeah, he came back. I was going to come out for
I was pretty panicked.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, I'm like maybe 12 to 14 years old.
And how far away do you live?
It was probably a couple mile ride.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, I gotta walk home.
Yeah, and now I don't have a bike, and you're just like,
Yeah.
man, everything just floods. And he's like, so he comes in, he goes, oh, my bike is stolen. Someone stole my bike. I was like, I can't believe it, man. That sucks. I said, well, we're gonna have to go and call the cops. So I'm like, let's go call the cops, right? I took you back, and I take him to the back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, here we go. I'm like, let's call the cops, and we'll tell them that your bike looks like that. And I pointed over to your bike sitting on the loading dock in the back. And he's like, wait, what? And I could tell you weren't sure that, like, you didn't, you're processing everything. I'm like, you didn't know that I was the goofy prankster that I am. You're like, wait, what just happened here? So do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
He's still reveling.
Yeah, it's very traumatizing.
And being a jerk. Yeah. No, that was good. Well, that's a taste into what it's like to work at Drums, etc. I think is just that culture's always been a thing. I guess because Shawn's been there since I started. Maybe it's just Shawn. Maybe he brought that in. I don't know. But there's something about the prankster vibe. Like, you're never safe. You're never comfortable. You're never safe around here.
Enough with the penny, Shawn.
That's right.
Enough with the penny.
Enough with the penny.
What's up with the penny?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Did anybody get with you?
You're not gonna share, huh?
I'll share. It's
This is a podcast where we share fun stories.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks, I have to brief our guests. You're just gonna. This is not where we share inside jokes.
Yeah, that's right. You're not going to share that.
Well,
it's just like what I do now. I mess with you just in certain little ways, just to make you laugh and break up the day or cry. So I would, for probably a week or two, I placed a penny at the same exact spot in Rick's office, just on the floor. It's like a random penny. Like, because you're walking into your office and there's a penny on the floor. You're gonna I'll pick it up. And it happens again. You're like, that's kind of weird. It happens the third time. You're like, all right, what's happening? So eventually, a week goes by. Like, every day I put the penny at the same exact spot. And then, did he send me an email or was it a note that just said, enough with the penny? That's all it said.
Enough with the penny.
Enough with the penny. I forget. I don't remember how he said it, but I remember enough with the penny.
It was either he either emailed me and I told you, or he wrote a note, probably in my check. And I opened my check and it just says, enough with the penny. And another time, we used to have a sink in the back, right?
Yeah.
And, of course, the old prank is you take a rubber band and you tie it around the sprayer hose, right? You turn that on and boom, it goes. So Rick was never down there messing around. Well, of course he was this day. So he comes down and boom, turns it on and sprays him everywhere. And then he wrote on the chalkboard, "No more games at the sink."
No more games. The more like parental scolding the response gets, the more you're egged on to do more.
Oh, for sure.
This is a really great glimpse into it. You've scared me so many times. The old shop, if you guys aren't familiar with the New Holland location, I'm sure a lot of you are, just was literally like 12 buildings that look like cobbled together. Basically, all you need to know is that there's loops where you can sneak around to scare people. Every doorway has a spot where you can could tuck behind and jump out and scare people. There's doors that have mirrors on them. It was like the never-ending maze in there. So it's just like a labyrinth of being able to pop out and jump out and scare people.
Did I ever scare you the conveyor belt where you open up the doors and I'm there and I pop out at you? Did I ever do that to you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Of course you did.
Did I ever tell you how I met Giles?
Okay, great thing to bring up on the Halloween episode.
Yes.
So for years, there was this guy named Giles. He was one of those, dare I say, non-humans. Those Halloween props that we put by the door. And originally, and he'd say things like, "More guests."
Yeah.
Good
evening. Leave your body at the door.
Yeah, exactly. So he'd say little catchphrases when you'd walk in the front door. He'd also, when he first was there, which I never saw this stage of him, his head would turn, his eyes would light up and blink, his mouth would move. He had a candelabra that would light up. Slowly.
That was bold. Yeah, pulled that out.
Yeah, slowly.
Big word.
Candelabra. Am I not allowed to use that word?
No, I never
Sorry.
heard it
Let me
before.
dumb it down. He had 3 candles in his hand.
There you go.
That would light up.
He had a menorah.
Yeah, exactly. No, but anyway, so he's got all this going on, and he would scare people when they came in the door. Little kids were frightened beyond belief, probably scarred a lot of childhoods. But I think it's good for him. I think it was good for him.
Brantley.
Oh yeah, Brantley. My son was terrified of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son was terrified, and then I took his hat off and he laughed because Giles was balding.
Okay, that's your backstory to Giles. But on the off season, we'd have to put him somewhere. But it's kind of a scary. He's like as tall as me. Like he's an intimidating.
Yeah, he's like over 6 foot. He's
scary zombie guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So back to when I was hired to do the cleaning at the store. I was down in the basement. The basement was horrifying to begin with. Our basement was terrifying.
Absolutely.
And there was a boiler room where the oil tank was, and it was pitch black. There was no lights in this room whatsoever. And Giles was just far enough inside the door that you couldn't see him until you were like in the threshold of the door. So I remember one time I'm like new to the store. I'm like nosing around. I'm in the basement looking around. I go to open this door. I open the door, and next thing I see half a face, and I scream and I slam the door shut. And I'm like, what the hell was that? So I go run back upstairs. I forget who was working.
What did you even think? What did your mind like? You're like ghost, ghoul,
sheer horror,
just horror.
Yeah. To this day, it's still true. I'm still like to the day I left that store, I still open that door cautiously because of that moment. Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
So that was my introduction to Giles.
Good. He was very, very scary. In addition to him, I would get spooked if I was alone at night, even closing the shop down. We had so many because of promotional stuff. We'd have like cardboard cutouts of people, and I kid you not, the prop.
Brian May.
Brian May was in the window. The prop that scared me more than Giles, than any Halloween thing, than any scary movie. The single source of fear that has struck me like feeling like my heart skipped a beat more than anything else is Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we had an Eric Clapton, like he came out with a foot pedal, like a guitar pedal. We used to have a guitar room, and that thing would move around the store.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying Shawn would purposely move it around the store. I've seen him peeking out of windows. I've seen him hiding behind plants. I've seen him right behind doors when I open them.
He has scared me as well.
Not that he looked. You just think someone's there. You think you're alone, and then someone's there right in front of you, and it's terrifying. So he is really the scariest Halloween decoration. But I think if we put Eric Clapton out front of the door, we wouldn't get any kids coming in the door. He's pretty scary.
I know the same thing happened to Rick, too, because there was another guy that used to work with us. His name was George, and George and Rick went to the basement once for something, and boom, they hit the lights, and Giles was there, and just hearing and seeing George recount, like Rick, like turning the lights on and like jumping back. He said he jumped back, like there was Giles, like whoa, like you don't expect a freaking 6-foot figure to be standing there
staring at you.
He was a very imposing person.
Yeah.
I don't care what he was. He's very imposing.
Oh my god,
very, very imposing.
He brought us a lot of fun. So
absolutely.
And then he got decapitated the one day.
Yes.
Yeah, we were working. He got knocked over and his head got severed. Mm-hmm. We fixed him.
It's even scarier.
We fixed him.
Brought it back to life.
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Again. The undead.
The undead.
Where did he end up? If somebody's listening, I'd like to know where he went.
So he was in the liquidation sale type thing that we did, like when we sold like the doorknobs and the lights, and like we put some drum stuff in there to get drummers' attention, but it was like literally like fixtures of the old shop, because the old Drums Etc. on New Holland Avenue is now an apartment building, 550 lofts. If you guys need a place to stay, it's cool because there's still some like drum stuff and decor, but basically they were going to gut that building, so that was part of my job. I went back in there and tore the place apart, and then we had like an auction for normal things like chairs, this and that, furniture, whatnot, cabinets, desks, everything we didn't need when we moved over here. He was in that auction because I looked through everything, and I was like, because I was the same. We had all these old displays for merchandise that, I'm sure tons of stores throughout Lancaster are using now for other purposes. Be like drumhead display now, there's like whatever, and DVD racks, everything. Oh. But Giles was in there, DVDs. And I remember looking after it was done, and someone bought him for $50.
Oh, I should have bought him.
Well, hopefully they knew he didn't work.
Yeah.
I will still buy him for $50 if somebody wants to sell him.
But someone's got Giles.
Yes. I'll pay you some interest too on that if you want to sell him back.
Yeah.
Shit, I'll go buy a new one now. Just for that.
There's nothing as good. Every year that comes around, I look for something like him, and it's not quite as good.
Nothing.
Rick got a zombie recently, but that just seems too intense. At like lunges and stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if
Giles was perfect. He was what the shop needed.
Yeah.
The perfect level of.
And we're still laughing about him.
We're still laughing about him.
We're getting miles out of that one.
Oh my god.
Absolutely. So yeah, while we're on the topic, let's talk about about Halloween at the shop. Do you guys have any other memories? Has anyone ever come in costume? Have you dressed up during that time? I know every year I usually wear something. Now it's this because I spent money on it, and I feel like I need to get my use out of it. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, officially, I am the... Shawn can be the spectral trapper. That's going to be that costume. And I will be the paranormal investigator. There are no ghosts being busted.
Or busters.
No, and you were earlier, you were not the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You were the... What's another word?
The
Big marshmallow dude.
Is marshmallow copyrighted or something?
Maybe it is.
Marshmallow.
Marshmallow.
Yeah. Let's roll with that.
We'll just say kind of puffed.
Kind of puffed.
Kind of puffed.
Puffed up. We'll just call you Puff Daddy. That's not being used.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Whatever.
Hey,
Whatever
all
works.
right. So let's talk about your drumming a little bit, just because you're here, and I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it at all. So you got started because your dad had a kit in the house. Am I correct?
Yeah, my dad played for years before I was born, and then I have a photo of me standing at his hi-hats where my head doesn't even reach his hi-hats.
Wow. Yeah.
So I came up
always in the house.
Yeah, always in the house. Came up watching him. I wish I would have paid more attention the older I got to obviously what my dad was doing. Then when he got out of it, I picked up the sticks and took over the reins, and then played for high school. Played in various bands, and then got my big break with a band called Free the Fallen, and then we did we did regional stuff around here. Nothing crazy. Tri-state areas and
Sure.
Opened for some great acts. We opened for August Burns Red in Texas in July. The heavyweights around here, and great shows, phenomenal shows. Had a great following, and then life gets in the way, and everybody goes their different directions.
Yeah, and you guys did everything, like all of the stuff that you do when a band is just about to break, and you guys had a lot of fans. You really did. You guys were freaking hitting it hard and putting in the extra work. You guys went to a legit studio. You guys recorded. I remember that video you made where you were talking about your drum setup and everything.
Yeah,
that was freaking rad.
Yeah.
The production on that was awesome too. Was that Atrium?
Where'd
you guys record that?
We did both our albums with Atrium Recording.
Yeah.
Formerly Century, and then
that's right. It was Century, and then it changed to
Carson Slovak at the time.
Yep.
Did both our albums. Did a killer job, stellar on both albums, and then we did a music video for the one song.
And that was legit.
That was cool because that was actually somebody's project that they did a video for us.
You guys had you put the water on the drums.
Put the water on the drums.
Freaking let's talk about this because I've never been there. I've never done that. Any music that I've released that's had a video is someone off putting together generic footage or whatever. Nothing super intense. So what was that like being on set having to play your drums? Because it drives me nuts when I watch a video or a movie for that matter, and the drummer, what they're playing is not actually playing.
Doesn't
you
match
hear
up.
a crash.
His was on point.
Was yours on point?
Yeah. So
That's good.
we actually pumped in our song through one of the amps, and we're playing it, basically with no music playing.
Right.
And it's incredibly hard to play drums with trying not to make any sound while you're filming a video. So if I recall, like my cymbals were double stacked, and certain drums would have.
You do play cymbal stacks.
Yeah. So like,
I got him.
So certain angles, that's good. So certain angles, I would have my snare pad was actually on my snare drum. So when you would see us from like out in front,
you're hitting, but
I was hitting. It was just a snare pad on my drum. But then when they were behind me to film the shot, I was actually playing the snare hits.
Got it.
So, yeah, and it was cool. It was something we did. We have that. It was a great run while we had it. Obviously, never got to the level we wanted it to. For some of us,
a lot farther than I've ever
always
made
reliving in the glory days.
You guys even had like that singer transition too, where
we went to
singer, but the guy you brought in was like top notch, even better than.
They were both great.
They were both great.
They were both great for the album.
Angle, he's like, so the guy that came in, he was
great.
Way better, right?
He seemed better.
No, they were both great for the album that we had.
Okay.
That they both each fit the album. I think the direction we wanted to go with each album, the perfect way. And,
awesome.
And the vocalist on our first album was very well liked, publicly. So he was a great front man.
Awesome.
Terrific front man. It was great with crowds, great with getting people into the crowds. And then when we weren't playing, he was very supportive of other bands. So he was always in the crowd for other bands, moshing and dancing.
That's important.
Yeah, and it's a huge look for your band. It's a great image for your band to have this supportive band. And I'm still friends with a lot of people today that I met because of that band.
Yeah, you guys got pretty popular. Shawn's got a story about how popular you were.
Yeah, that is true.
I wouldn't say real popular.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it was a moment where I was at Hershey.
do you question picking on him all this time? You were like, wait a minute, he's actually a big star.
Yeah, I had to like take a step back and go, oh my god, this dude.
This guy.
This
Again
guy.
with this guy.
Well, I was at Hershey Park, and I remember I was in line for Storm Runner, and there were two dudes in front of me that were probably teenage years, but they were talking about the show they were at last night. They were like, yeah, and they were talking about Free the Fallen, which was Evan's band. Like, this band Free the Fallen was awesome, and they were he had his phone out, and they're going through pictures, and I'm like, oh my god. I was like, they're talking about this is Evan's band, Free the Fallen. So I tapped the guy on the shoulder, and I said, hey, so you like that band Free the Fallen? I said, I work with the drummer. And he's like, you know Evan Shubrooks? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Evan
That's
Shubrooks.
great.
Like, yeah. Wow.
I like how he knew
And
his name.
Yeah,
Like, that's amazing.
yeah. I was like, all of a sudden, I was a big shot then.
Yeah.
Just rubbing off his...
I know him.
Yeah, do I know him? I bully him.
That's how well I know it.
He carries my bags for me.
I've been picking on him since he was 12.
Yeah. I stole his bike.
Yeah. And then, there was, like I said, that's an awesome story. Like, I remember when you told me that. It's cool to have.
It's
But
super cool.
That's
It's
an
so
awesome
cool,
story.
yeah.
Like I said, we played with other bands around here. We played with August Burns Red when they did their DVD shoot up in Mannheim. Phenomenal show. Probably the best show I've ever played. My band's ever played.
Nice.
And then
I saw you play at the Chameleon Club.
played the Chameleon a bunch of times, headlined the Chameleon a bunch of times. That was always my goal getting into music. I remember when I started in my original band, Shot the Pieces, my goal was to play the Chameleon Club.
Right.
Was to play there.
Yeah.
That was the pinnacle of making
Yeah.
it music to me, was to play the Chameleon Club.
Yeah.
Me too.
And the original, the
Yeah.
original Chameleon Club,
Yeah.
not like
No. I
main
gotcha.
stage
Yep.
Chameleon Club. And I remember we got our break. We sold like 200 tickets or however many, and we blew the doors off. And like, these guys are coming back.
Yeah.
So they kept bringing us back as like this house, band for every show.
Nice.
And then that band crumbled, and we moved on to bigger and better, and that's when
Yeah.
Free the Fallen started. And then we, got these great shows. I mean, I played with, As Lay Dying, like I said, August Burns Red. We played Purple Door Music Festival. So I've played awesome shows. I've had the opportunity to play for a lot of great
and
people.
in a relatively small amount of time.
Yeah, we were around for like
kinda
2
popped
years.
off.
Yeah, it was like maybe 2 years, and then
That's
we just
great.
had our last show was a disaster. We did a certain music conference, and it was
Okay.
just like all house gear.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Pearl export on the stage. I think it was
no.
I think it was D drum.
Oh boy.
I think it was a
Okay.
D drum,
All right.
and just
No
everything.
disrespect
No
to D drum,
disrespect.
but there's a lot of entry level D drum, and if you
Yeah, it
encounter
was-
that in the wild,
was just-
and it was a house kit, that's rough.
I'll put the caveat out here, not to say any negative about
No.
any drum company, but I think it's whatever the backline kit is to how well it's maintained. And
Yes.
and it was just
Huge.
it was just you played for 20 minutes, you got off the stage, next band was right on. There was no time to tune it. There was no time to set anything up to your liking.
Been
you
there,
had
done that.
you had to get on stage with what you had and figure it out. And
Yeah.
and instantly it throws you out of your loop, and you're like trying to figure it out. You're missing notes. You're trying to fill a different sound with something different.
Yeah.
And I played with, I had two chinas, I had two bells. I was very accented when I played. And then here I have two crashes, a ride cymbal.
Yeah.
And maybe if I was lucky, I don't even remember if we had a china.
And you said you played primarily when you guys played out a lot. You'd bring your stuff. So you're used to playing your gear,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and now here you are thrown in. And that's always an interesting thing. I remember when that first happened to me. I remember sitting behind the kit and being like, this throne doesn't adjust.
Yeah, this doesn't work.
Like this bass drum doesn't have a rug. It's sliding. Like
Mm-hmm.
what do I do? And what you do is you make do. You make it
right.
happen, right?
But those are the mistakes that you make that you learn from. You
Yeah.
know, it's like because you don't go into the stuff knowing everything, but you have to learn to sink or swim. And apparently, you guys.
Oh, we sank.
You
Oh
guys-
yeah, no, we sank. We put cinder
tell-
blocks on our feet and sank.
And it was that like the
That was like the last show.
Oh, my God.
And then we did a reunion.
swan song, as they say.
Yeah, we did a reunion show a couple months later as like a farewell show, where we were like one of the main support bands for Texas in July, and that was like the final end all be all. It was a good show. We played well.
Nice.
We got a good
that
send
felt
off,
good.
and that felt like a great redemption.
Yeah.
Just to send it off into the sunset.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
But no, I miss it. My bassist and I are still close, and we talk about all the time. We're like, oh, we should get the band back together, and you're like, no, we shouldn't.
Yeah, you're like maybe we start a new project.
Nah, let's not.
Are those guys doing anything musically at all? that you know
No,
of? You don't know?
no, not that I'm aware of. I know some of the guys. Two of my guitar players ended up going to a signed band from our band, and then they did Warped Tour, and they were touring all over the world. They released a couple albums, so they did very good. They very successful with the time they did in their bands. And then, eventually we all grow up and get jobs. And
It happens. But the beautiful thing about drums is it's all there. Like, you still got to set up at home. You can sit down, like, whatever you need. So I want to talk briefly a couple things, but first let's talk about kind of what drums means to you, and kind of it's been part of your life for a very long time. How has that changed during the process of, obviously at one point it was your job to play, and at one point it was your job to sell stuff, and at one point it was your connection with your dad. Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, drumming has always been, I guess, an important basis in my life. And then I always look back at one point or another, and when I was brought up with drums, with my dad, and I talked about that picture earlier, and then I just kind of fell into it. And then you try to find your voice through playing the drums, and you try to find what music style you like. And I mean, I remember when I started playing the drums, I wasn't into metal music yet. And I remember when I started my band, the guy that I wanted to start the band with was like, well, you need to listen to this. And it was like Slayer and Dimmu Borgir and all these bands. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, these guys are playing hundreds of beats a minute. And I'm like, I'm not that good yet. I don't have a double pedal yet. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I finally got my Pearl Eliminator pedal, that was my first double pedal, I would sit and watch Jason Bittner and Chris Adler. And they were like my two idols for drumming. Yeah. And I would just sit for hours. I would put my pedal up against like a pillow and just work on foot practice. Mm-hmm. I would work on drumming, and then put that into a kit. But I remember like 2004 was probably the biggest year of my life when it came to figuring out who I was as a drummer. And that's when I really learned like metal music. That was a really big year for Modern Drummer Festival too, if you remember, because they both played Modern Drummer that year. Yeah. And I was ecstatic because these are my two favorite drummers.
Right. Yeah, and they're both there.
I'm like, this is great. And obviously it evolved into us practicing, having these bands that I went through, and the whole reason I got a job at Drums Etc. was because of the practice studio, because we were there practicing and we're checking out, and there's a sign hanging at the door for a cleaning mm-hmm. person, and I shot my shot and said to Rick, hey, did you hire somebody yet for that? He pulls me aside, talks to me for 10 minutes, like, yep, start Monday. Nice. Or whatever day it was.
Sweet.
And I mean, the rest, I'm sitting here because of that. Like, that all just, it's amazing when you connect the dots.
Yeah.
How it all works out.
And before you go any further, I just have to mention this because there's an ongoing joke between Adam and I. For the longest time, I thought he lived in Ephrata, honest to God. And then I found out he doesn't live in Ephrata. He actually lives in Reamstown.
Shawn looked at me like I.
But like I was like, what? It blew my mind. I thought he lived in Ephrata, right? So I always joke with him about this.
It's all the northern end.
Okay.
I'm a northerner.
When Evan started working at Drums Etc. part-time, he also worked part-time at Stauffer's. Okay? I thought Evan worked at the Stauffer's up here by the airport, the nice one. I had never been to this other Stauffer's down here. And then when he told me he worked at that one, like, it blew my mind, because we were talking about Stauffer's, and I thought you worked at this one? You don't remember this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And when you told me that you worked at this one down here,
yeah,
it blew my. There's like the one. It's like they tore it down. They leveled this place.
They tore it down.
It's a car wash.
So bad
it was so bad, right? The building was falling apart.
Well, I haven't worked there since I was.
I had never even gone into this place. I'm like, you work at that Stauffer's? I'm like, what? This whole time I thought you worked at the one by the airport. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on. I just needed to say that.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We both lied to you.
I'm just always mistaken by different things. So
I forgot about that. Yeah. I left that job to come work at Drums Etc. full time. Oh man, that was great. When I could tell that job that I was done, and
you were ready.
I was like, I'm ready for the big leagues. Put me in.
The big leagues, and then you
I'm
get here,
called
you're
up.
stocking drum heads.
Get called up to the majors, baby.
You know what though? And like I said earlier, I would not trade a single moment of Drums Etc. for anything. Even nowadays, I love what I do now. I love my career, but the 5 years I spent at Drums Etc. were the pinnacle of. It was just a great job. It was something that I loved to do. I was passionate about. You took pride in what you did, what you sold people. You
got the feedback then too when they came back in again.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that you took a lot of pride in. I had a great staff that I worked with. We were friends outside of work. We did a lot of things out of work, after work. And the thing is, with me, I was younger. So being an only child, Shawn was like an older brother to me. I'm like, this is somebody that I look up to, and that it has my back and cares about me, and. Mm-hmm. And Rick was a phenomenal boss to work for, and we had a great relationship. And then, Carl was, great to work with. Carl was like uniquely hilarious. He was like the guy from The Office.
Dwight.
Yeah, he was like Dwight.
Oh, wow, you take that.
Yeah. He just because he would just have these like nuances about him, and he would just say things that were just like just hilarious.
Very Dwightish.
Yeah, very Dwight. He'd just say the most comical things, but he would have no emotion.
Yeah,
and
just say it with a straight face.
Just say with a straight face, but it was just hysterical. So, yeah, like every moment, everything we did there was just phenomenal.
No, I don't talk to customers first. They got to talk to me first, or something weird like that. You know,
he was gonna step out and catch one, and that's like, oh,
catch
okay,
one.
Hey, he's gonna go disappear, and got a smoke break, and
sure.
But even everybody that we helped, everybody that was a customer at that store, and like I said, I'm so sentimental to that, and I actually just drove by there a week or two ago, and I'm mind blown that like what that became. Like to me, I heard about that years ago through the like kind of the pipeline that he was going to do that with apartments.
Yeah, and
I was like, how's that going to happen?
Right
now, look at it.
I had
look at the legacies left behind. He's pushing on 40 years already.
I had a moment like that too. A few weeks ago, I was up real early and I had to go to the vet, and I'm coming back from the vet, and I decided to take a drive down New Holland Avenue, past the old Drums, etc. And as I'm coming up and crossing over Franklin Street, coming to the Drums, etc., Rick's truck is parked there, right where it's always been. It's
like
there.
He's still in his spot.
Still there.
I was like, this is
cool.
surreal. And I had to tell him later on, like, dude, that was so crazy. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and
he was there.
Like the old days,
Still
I come rolling in, and boom, his freaking truck is still there.
Yep.
I'm like,
there's definitely a soft spot.
That's amazing.
It's definitely a soft spot.
Yeah, and I think drum shops really do play an important role in the culture of our drumming community. And I think that that's a really key indicator of how tight we can all be. It's no matter what, no matter how long you've been out of playing or getting back into it or this or that, or you've worked at a shop, or you can always walk in the door and know that like you'll be accepted. And it's really, I felt that, like you were saying, kind of being the young guy, because I was the kid coming in. Literally, I was talking about earlier about coming in and filming a thing when I was a kid, like with you guys in it. Like I always felt that from the get-go, that like this is a place that I can ask any question, I can just hang out, I can talk drums, and I don't have to worry about like ever feeling like you're wasting someone's time, even though I wasted a lot of your time over the years.
No, you never did. You never did.
But it was fun. It was a good place. Like you just don't see places like that anymore. Even what you have here now, like what you're building in your own name, is phenomenal, because it's you, but you're carrying on that tradition and that legacy.
Yeah, it's important.
But you're also making it your own. Like your online presence, by far, and that's no shade on Rick, just surpasses anything that we ever did before. Like I remember when you guys started the website, it was like the future is here.
Yeah, here it is.
But now like we're sitting here doing a podcast.
Right.
You're talking about sales. We never did sales.
No.
Like sales were not our thing. We just never ran.
And we just launched a new website just a few weeks ago. I don't know if you checked that
out.
It's freaking state of the art.
And then when you started here, you had me coming in and inventorying everything. Everything had a barcode. Everything was numbered. Everything was labeled. You scanned it and it came up. None of this.
We live and die by the barcode now.
Yeah.
UPC codes used to be a great spot to put our tag over before.
Yeah. And I was going to say,
up until 2021, Drums Etc., as you guys probably didn't know this, Drums Etc. literally was not, it was paper pencil, it was not inventory. There was no digital account of what was in the store at any time, which is just kind of how things ran. And it was totally cool, and it's incredible when someone can juggle all that by themselves. But like now, even a couple years into it, I'm starting to finally get like data, which it seems pretty important to business.
But we knew where everything was.
Yeah,
we knew where
we
knew that store inside and out, and we could find. And like it goes back to the sales thing. Like you said about like customer and like your question earlier, like what size or what kind of head should I get?
Yeah,
I remember somebody came in one time and needed like I don't know if it was a tension rod or a cymbal felt or something, and like for whatever reason I found it, I made it work, and they were on their way, and like their reaction when I made that happen was the reason you do this job.
Absolutely.
Like it was because I remember it was like something under $5, but the impact that made on them to go above and beyond for a $5 part, not even a $5 part, was why. Yeah, and I couldn't tell you who it was or if they came back or anything, but I just remember like
times. I absolutely agree.
Yeah,
and that's
like sometimes they're bigger than they're better than the big old sales and the big drum sets, and every now and then you get somebody walks in like, I want a Pearl reference kit today, purple sparkle, purple.
Yeah,
praise.
where are those people?
Yeah.
Where are those people? Are you still out there? That'd be great.
Every now and then you would have one. You have the anomaly walk in, they're like, I have $10,000 to spend. Let's make it happen, and you're like,
I've never seen. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, Yeah, no, it happens. Yeah, but it's those small things that really add up, and I think that, like you're saying, that the value in that is something that you can't necessarily Google or find. You know, there's
you can't
the service,
you can't
man,
Google
the service, and a straight answer. We're gonna give you a straight answer. I love bringing this up and talking about the fact that we are going to give our unbiased opinion. We're going to tell you right now the Pearl Export is better than this other drum set. You know what I mean? Like, we'll tell you because there are slight changes, this and that. The value and the best deal for you changes over time. And we're keeping track of all those little incidental things that make this better or worse. We take pride in being able to give you our opinion. Every drum company is going to say, we are the best. 100% of the time. That's what they're going to do. That makes sense to them. Whether they believe it or not, they're going to say, we are the best option at all times. As a drum shop, we're going to tell you this is better than that. And we're going to tell you why. And it's based in experience.
Or it's something that I use, personally.
Yeah.
And I say, I played a Pearl kit. I had a Tama kit. I have Zildjian cymbals.
Experience.
I have a Sabian cymbal. It's actually a Sabian China that I like better than any Zildjian China I've had. It's more durable.
Yeah, just being upfront about, where our experience is from and why we have the opinions that we have.
Yeah. And here's what works for me. This might not work for you. But here's what I use, so you can see where I'm at, and let's figure out where you want to go.
And then have the stuff physically here so you can test it.
Yeah, and this Vader 5A or Virgil Donati drumstick may work for you, or it might not. Or this cymbal might work for you, it might not. And then we'll go, from there.
That's it.
Or my other favorite one was when kids or parents would come in for Christmas.
Yeah.
And want to get their kids the drum set. That was like my personal favorite because they'd be like, we want to get our kid a drum set this year.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Like, what are you looking for? Well, they're just starting. So you kind of tailor it down. Or you get the parents that come in and are like, he's been drumming for a couple years. We want to get him something nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, awesome. Here's what our options are. And they find it. It's like, I would always go and tell them, like, we'll pick out the kit. I will assemble it for you. That way there's no, you don't have to worry about any of it. We'll assemble it. We'll put the heads on. We'll get it set up. All you got to do is basically put it under the tree and put a ribbon on it. Mm-hmm. And like when they would show up on Christmas Eve to pick up that kit, it was ready to go. Like, stellar.
Yeah.
That's like one of the best things about the job.
I can't tell you, absolutely, and super rewarding. I can't tell you how many parents, and I can't tell you because I don't know, but I know they're out there. How many parents are up in the middle of the night, Christmas Eve, looking at a bag of tension rods going, what have I gotten myself into?
Yes.
Yeah. What have I got myself into? Yeah. And you know what's happening because those kits eventually will come in for one reason or another, and the head will be on backwards, the spurs sticking up the wrong side. It's or whatever.
Sometimes you'll get the customers that'll say, well, doesn't this come in a box? And like, trust me, you don't want it in a box.
If it's in a box, it means it's in pieces.
Evan did the hard work for you. Yeah. Believe me, just put a bow on it. You're good to go.
Do you remember the one year how many forms did I put together?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember that the whole basement? The whole basement was
that's probably a good 40 drum sets.
It was ridiculous.
Could have been.
It was insane. We sold all of them.
Yep.
Like there was a time where we were cranking out. We were selling like 3 or 4 forms a day, and it was just parents coming in. But then, like I said, you think of those moments where these parents want to get their kid this illustrious kit, and you made that happen for them. They trusted you to do that. They came to a local drum shop. They're not going to get that service off the internet. That's just not something that's going to happen. So that's where the local drum shop comes in, and that's what I took pride in my work and the crew that we had trust each other. And
we still do it.
And I mean, we had a good crew.
Yeah, we did.
We had a very good crew. We all worked
and it's
together.
always, I keep wanting to say this too, because even though you've moved on, you continuously come back for different things, for different
just
events.
fall right back in.
You've come in, you've helped us with the inventory, you've helped us, set up the new, digital system. You've come in to help for sales and just fill in here and there, just different things. So it's always cool to be able to have you come back and get back into it and do that again, because I know that it means a lot to you as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to be still on board with this.
And then now we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It's like freaking cool.
Yeah, man.
And you're like, come to the podcast. I'm like, I don't podcast.
Yeah, but
you do now.
I do now.
The thing is that it's just the stuff we do downstairs.
Shop talk.
We're
just for the world to see.
And we joked a lot.
Oh no, the world doesn't see this.
No.
It's about 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
No.
Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah.
Still worth doing.
But we just decided, like, well, we're down here talking about drums anyway with customers and friends and coworkers, and let's just put it up here, and we'll get something out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is awesome, and like I said, the the vibes that this store is putting off is stellar, and I wish you guys
awesome
nothing but the best.
Well, thank you.
We didn't even get into the shop lingo. That's another podcast down the road.
I think there's still some classified lingo.
Yeah,
I think the list is a lot shorter. I thought about that before, and secret code words we use and stuff.
That's one thing that when I left here, I would still try to like throw out those lingo words, and people had no idea.
Well, the funny thing is that when you came in too, like, I'm sorry, I was scared.
No,
a fly.
You got a little fly flying around.
Evan and I happen to like a lot of the same movies and can quote these movies like Forrest Gump and Back to the Future and
Paranormal Investigators.
Home Alone, Ghostbuster. Well,
Mrs. Doubtfire. So his core favorite movies are mine. The Simpsons. So we got along immediately. Just boom, boom,
friend.
just
yeah. He just spit off a line, and I would just run with it,
rattling off like, "Hey, wait a minute, you ain't Seamus McFly."
You sure look like I'm no, especially in that dog ugly hat.
You kin to that, Barber?
Jeez. I'm going to act like I'm still recording, and I'm just going to go home, and they're just going to still be talking back and forth.
We could run for hours doing that.
Hours. Well, dude, we're going to have you back for at least a pop-in episode or something in the future, for sure, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm glad the Halloween vibes worked.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Hopefully I kept everybody's attention for more than 10 minutes.
The ultimate setup. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. I think this is a good time to just kind of press the pause button, and we'll pick up another time. But yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah. If you guys would like to contribute to the show, we do have some links in the bio for our Discord channel. If you have any ideas for segments, or say you want to crank up, turn it down this, there's a million different things and different ways you can contribute to the show.
I have one.
Okay.
Phillies tonight, World Series or not?
Well, by the time I put this out, it's going to be Halloween. So we'll know.
All right, well, make your predictions now, boys. Phillies going or not?
Phillies are going.
They're going.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right, go Phils.
100%.
Yep.
We should record 2 reactions right now.
I just want to win. I'm so tense right now. I just want to get there.
Okay.
Depending on how things go. Ask me that question again.
Phillies are going to win Game 7 tonight.
No. That way we can edit this out.
yeah. Here we go.
I want to be right.
Hey, guys, as you know, the Phillies, they didn't win the World Series yet, did they?
No, it's just Game 7.
It's just Game 7.
Just to go to the World Series.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying by October 31st, will we know if they won or not?
Not the World Series. They'll know tonight.
But
the game is tonight.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing if they got in. If they get in, where will we be at?
The 31st, possibly, I think Game 4 of the World Series.
Game 4 of the World Series. All right, Game 4 of the World Series. Phillies are killing it, right, guys?
Yes, go Phils.
Go Phils. All right, Game 4 of the World. No, I don't even want to do the negative one. They're going to win it. They're going to win it all.
That's the attitude. We'll end on that note.
Yeah, exactly. Go Phils. Thank you guys for being here. Again, like I said, if you want to contribute, there's Discord. You reach out to us, drumsetcetera.com. Text us, call us, whatever. We're here for you guys. As always, support your local drum shops. If you don't have a local drum shop, we'd be happy to adopt you. We'll see you next time.